Today we're going to be reviewing some hollow metal dice from DnDWoW. They often send me dice just to get my opinions on them, and I've accumulated enough of their hollow metal dice now that I thought I could show them off to you all because I think that you'll find them interesting. They're not the first or last to do hollow metal dice, but I love their slogan, "Wow people at the D&D games." That's hilarious. They sent me 4 different sets, a gold knight set and a bronze knight set, as well as this kind of rounded blue Celtic Knot set and a black nickel skull set. There's nothing absolutely revolutionary about their packaging. It comes with a bag that has DnDWoW on it, a pretty traditional dice bag. It's black velvet, that's just whatever. It's mostly about the dice that we're going to look at here. And I was really surprised at the detail on the sides of the dice. Yeah, the helmets and the shields are really nice, but it's actually the edges of the D6 and all of them that are so textured that just look gorgeous, and they feel great in the hand. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It feels a lot like the edge of a quarter or a nickel, or if anything, it's even more fine than that. So it just feels really cool as well as looks great. They also have an interesting design choice to have some of them have helmets and some of them to have shields and swords. It's rare for dice sets to have kind of a mix and match like that, and so I know that'll be hit or miss for some people, but I kind of like it. It's different than the normal style. I also did my scratch test where I take the sharpest edges that I can find and try and scratch the surface of the metal or plastic depending on what dice it is to see if any of it comes off, and luckily none of it did, so you can have these in a bag and not worry about their color fading over time. Now, there's not really much to talk about as far as the bronze versus the gold. If you like bronze, you'll probably like that more than you like gold. You'd be silly to because gold is better, but you know, you can always go that way. The one thing I did notice about the bronze versus the gold dice, however, is whatever enamel paint they used and then buffed off, they put a lot more of it on the bronze one. You can see the shield and the sides are much darker and almost black. Maybe they just buffed the gold one more. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a design choice or maybe it's a manufacturing error, but it was pretty consistent on the bronze one, so I think it's a design choice. So if you like that, being that the background of it is a lot darker than the actual metal edges, then you'll probably like the bronze set a little bit more. It kind of pops more than the gold does. Moving on to what is the most interesting and definitely the most unique of the sets is this blue kind of Celtic Knot looking set. I really like how this one looks from the outside, though I do have some issues with it. All of the dice on here are rounded, which is really cool. The D6 and the D4 are even rounded, so no more cutting up your toe by stepping on a D4. That's a really nice feature for me with how many dice I have lying around. However, with how round they are, it's really difficult to differentiate between the dice. That's a D20. I thought this was a D8. Turns out it's a D10. I missed the 0 there. It was just hard to tell them apart. This one here happens to be the D8, and it doesn't look all that different side by side. You can kind of lose which one is actually a D8 and which one's a D10. The D100 here luckily has 2 numbers, but the D12 looks very similar to the D20. The D6 is even so round you might confuse it with the others. The D4 is the only one that's pretty obviously different right away, but having them all lined up, it's hard to see which one is which. So if you're going to use a set like this, I would highly recommend on the table leaving them in sequential order. Obviously, they're not going to fit into this dice dagger box I made, but it's in sequential order, and that's how I'd have to leave them, because if I wanted to grab the D6 or the D12 quickly, I would have no idea which one is which. And so that is a problem with this set. And finally, we're moving on to the spookiest of dice sets today. It's the nickel bone or skull set. These are creepy in the best kind of way. These are what you break out when you're going to be fighting a lich, or when Ozzy Osbourne finally accepts your invitation to play D&D. Still waiting on that call, Ozzy. This is the set you break out. I actually think I like this set the most, though the gold one really screams me. I like how readable these are. With the kind of darker nickel color and then the white numbers, it is so easy to read these on the table, and they just look awesome. This skull has like 5 different spines coming out of its head. I think that's awesome. I love seeing the rib cages on some of these dice. I really don't have much of a problem or much to say about these. If you like the design, you'll like it. If you don't like the design on these, you probably won't like it. But the best part about hollow metal dice is how they jingle in your hand and when you roll them on the table. It's my favorite part. The This set does like to roll on the table, it makes sense, but because they're heavy, they generally stop pretty quickly, so it's nothing I'd worry about. Rolling Them Bones gave me a nat 20. I knew I liked this set for a reason, but let's hear how they sound on a leather over wood surface. And finally, how do they sound on a felt over wood surface, like the one that we made? And the gold set didn't disappoint with a nat 20 either. One thing to note, they don't jingle at all if you're not rolling multiple of them. So I hope that you enjoyed these, because I definitely really like hollow metal dice sets. They're the hardest by far to make at home. I have no idea how to make them and how to make molds that would work with them, and so they're the only sets that I can't really make, and therefore the only sets that my wife will let me buy. So I generally like hollow metal dice sets a lot, and so I like these a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like seeing reviews like this of sets that I find interesting. Subscribe if you might want to see some more videos like this in the future, or how to make your own dice sets. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. I want to hear that too. Either way, I hope that you have a fantastic day.